Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are ready for some incredible randomizer action. My name is Files, and I'm joined by my good friend Clearmouse. Clearmouse, are you ready for some intense action?
I am so ready for this. I mean, these four guys, have you heard of them by chance, Files?
They look kind of familiar. Thalane?
I don't know.
Yeah, something.
Probably
I don't know. They look
some
familiar.
guy, right? Yeah.
No, these are four titans of the randomizer and frankly the NMG scene as well. These guys are definitely very talented, so I'm looking forward to honestly a good match.
Yeah, certainly a really, really strong matchup. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's week 1 versus week 7 versus playoffs. You told me that these four guys are racing each other. I would not be surprised if this is like a finals match.
Yeah, exactly. Now, these guys already played once earlier in the week. This is round 2. And as you can tell by the point total, Komodo Hypers did win with Kyong and Frame versus thalane and Eri earlier in the week. So I'm guessing that thalane and Eri are ready to come back swinging with a vengeance.
Yeah, looks like everyone's starting off. Very expected split starts here. Looks like Kyong found some bombs here in Sanctuary, whereas we pick up a blue mail on Chex's side and from Link's house.
Yes, and now as a reminder, this is co-op info share. So the two players on the right of your screen and the two players on the left of your screen are playing the same, are on the two opposing teams. They're all playing the same seed, and they are sharing information with their teammate only, and they are trying to get through the seed as fast as possible. We got a map check already. Looks like Hera and Eastern were crystals, and Desert was some kind of pendant.
Yeah, while this is all dungeons, as you see from the mode, so regardless of whether it's a crystal or pendant, we still have to complete all the dungeons. However, because we have to complete everything, it's very possible that maybe we need to prioritize pendant dungeons for potential, stuff in GT or, on the pedestal.
All right, so it looked like the bush crab was red rupees. That's always nice. And the library check was a sword.
Oh, hey, library sword maybe means early boots?
I mean, we can always hope that the game will become playable very soon with boots.
Yes.
It'll be extra playable because they'll get boots and they'll immediately know where to go to get their sword. It looks like lumberjack tree for the post-aga is nothing important. Looks like it was the bottom of a heart piece, so nothing too important there. You could probably see an example of some info share going on with Kyong picking up those rupees. Having already pulled the other bush crab, but like that's the kind of stuff you want to pass along to your partner so they can get that much needed early game money.
Yeah, and early bush crabs with rupees means that potentially they don't actually have to go to Houlihan and farm up more money, because certainly there is going to be one fish that asks for 500 rupees, and so if you have bush crabs there, it's probably much faster just to farm that money.
Chexhuman also seeing the sword in the library. I don't know about you, but when I want to read books, the first thing I think of is weaponry and violence.
We have one major goal in this game is to beat Ganon. You're going to have to at least get a Master Sword. So that is really just the first step, right? That's where we go to learn knowledge.
That's true. And the beauty of progressive swords is that sword could get better over time the further they get into this game. All right, Sick Kid check. Sick Kid has a bow. Very nice.
I definitely missed that when Chex ended up picking that up. But an early bow really is really nice. Bow can definitely be a gating item. That can prevent them basically from doing a lot of dungeons. And this means with that bow they can go immediately to Eastern and they don't have to double dip.
Yeah, you see some of the higher end runners will sometimes see if they can kind of put off doing Eastern, because if you can like tie it in with pod with like a later mirror check, it does save you a lot of running around. But you're always happy to see the bow.
Yeah, also speaking about money here, it looks like Kyong, in addition to farming up...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just to say, in addition to farming a bunch of rupees from the bush crab, he ends up picking up 300 rupees from the back of Blind's hut. So, that's even, better for him that he can just go comfortably to Zora.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that these poor guys had to pay 100 rupees for 10 arrows. That's never a good deal. Do not recommend. All right, you can already see the sign of a very solid and advanced co-op play is the divergent early game routing. covering different ground from your opponent, or excuse me, covering different ground than
Opponent?
than your teammate. It's a 1v1v1
Yeah.
mouse. We're all out for blood. No, covering different ground than your teammate, and then being real smart about identifying the good items and being communicative to your partner, knowing how to route things, because just because you have the information, you still have to be fast. The whole point of this is to be fast. So it's always really cool to see early game kind of strategies, because those are definitely things that you can kind of plan out just a little bit more, especially your opening moves.
Yeah, and especially as you said in co-op, right? This is kind of the opportunity to really be able to parallelize a lot of your discovery or exploration, right? Actually, we see that the lane is in Hyrule Castle right now, armed with just bombs. I'm sure he won't have too much trouble, whereas Eri is kind of exploring South Shore, right? So I mean, typically, if you're playing a seed by yourself, sometimes it's kind of questionable whether or not you want to do Hyrule Castle first in an opening seed. But hey, you've got a partner that could just do it for you, right?
Yep. Thalane having a little trouble with blue guard there, but he does recover. When we talked about Eastern plays, Chex with that bow, he's like, you know what, I'm just going to take this right over to Eastern. It's a dungeon I can get done, and there could be some valuable intel I can pass on to my partner here. All right, let's see if if Thalane is going to have any better luck with the 2 remaining guards he's going to have to kill with bombs here. Green guard's a little easier because one hit will do him, but you have to plan a little bit more ahead with the blue guard because it takes 2 bombs.
Yeah, speaking of
very nicely done.
Yeah, speaking of bomb strats, Kyong hopefully is going to finish up these mini Moldorms with only bombs as well. These guys can be, quite tricky in order to nail down.
We've got a real explosive start to our siege.
Oh, we did find powder.
Yeah. The game is playable. Is that?
Oh my gosh! Oh, I see. Chex is definitely dashing here, so I think he wins out of the 4 runners because he was the first one to find boots.
Yes. Now, I make terrible jokes and the runners find progression, so I have been rewarded incorrectly. That is not something that's supposed to happen.
It's just positive feedback for you, Files.
Positive? It's certainly feedback. Yeah. We'll go on from there.
Yeah, alright, so I don't think the lane found anything in Hyrule Castle, but hey, the good part is that he is, I'm sure, has told Eri that there is no need for you to explore Hyrule Castle anymore. So unless, probably the only thing left is that if they eventually, if they have to defeat Aga 1, they'll probably be back there, but hopefully they can save that till the end.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see how soon Kyong is going to prioritize Eastern, even though it's ground that his partner has already tread. Just because, in the hands of a skilled runner, the boots definitely can shave off minutes over the course of a seed. So it'll be very interesting to see how soon, Kyong opts to go over there. I mean, he's grabbing his bow right now, so maybe the answer to that is going to be soonish.
Yeah, and typically, even once kind of like partners are, kind of tell each other like, oh, hey, I found this item here, I found this item there, they typically, still try and prioritize exploration because knowledge is very important, especially early on. But, these are boots, right? Like, yes. As you said, like, it can, like, this is probably one of the highest priority things that you're willing to kind of double back for.
Oh yeah, well, especially this early. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, like, you know what, I'm just gonna go do it because, with all dungeons, you're gonna have to go over here anyway. So why not do it and get your boots and also your sword eventually. All right, Check's getting a little annoyed by the Popo in that dark room. Again, showing off how kind of annoying boots could be if you don't have a sword, because a lot of the dash lines that you're used to from NMG and other modes. Oh well.
All right, Files. I think this is commentary blessing from you.
Oh, what is going on? All right, well, I guess disregard everything I was trying to say because Chex just found a sword in the big key chest in Eastern, so I guess, yay.
Yeah, this
we've already got our master sword essentially locked down, so that's good to know.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder, because there is in fact a sword on library. So once these guys finish Eastern, Chex and Kyong, one really nice option for them is just kind of basically flute back to Kakariko and immediately grab their master sword.
Yeah, there's I mean, with flute and boots, it's a pretty easy sell. I mean, obviously you would like to route it in with something else, but you know, unless you're going to be finding mirror, it's just going to be hard to piece together the clear line for that. So yeah, we'll just have to see. And I guess our reading sword that, you know, everyone has is going to be blue now. Actually, you would want your reading sword to be kind of luminescent, right? Like you want a glowy sword so you can read under the covers at night when you're supposed to be asleep when you're 12.
That's right.
I don't know why else you would want. I guess the butter sword would probably be the most, you know, luminous of swords if I had to guess.
It does glow blue for what it's worth, right? And you know, and maybe, you know, like that's the best they're gonna get, you know, unless they get like butter or something.
All right, so we got ourselves. Now we know Armos doesn't have anything. Yep, that's just a compass. So, Death Mountain, it appeared, did not have too much on Ares' side. We're starting to get down to kind of the less fun checks. Although with early game flute clear mouse, I mean, you know, even having to go down to desert just doesn't hurt as much, especially if you have the boots.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, like when you get the flute, you can always get over to desert, you know, pretty quickly. Certainly a trek that you don't really want to make if you're just walking. But then, you know, once you actually get inside desert, you really want to be dashing around, and so it's even more appealing now that you have the boots, or at least desert area.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, and again, we can't really get into desert yet. We'll have to see where these runners opt to. There's kind of a lot of ground, you know, as you can see the Error 216 team making their way through Eastern, picking up their boots and probably their extra sword. It's an Eastern Palace party.
Yeah. You know, and this is kind of also maybe a sign that the seed potentially could still be linear, but the fact that, you know, as you see, we have boots and sword in Eastern, I mean, this is definitely going to be a priority for everybody. And also, just as a testament to how good, you know, these runners are, we can see basically whenever, you know, these runners are trying to finish up Eastern, they're going through quite a few dark rooms. And these dark rooms on, let's say, 5 hearts, really are not easy.
Oh yeah, well the dark room that Kyong's in right now is very dangerous. Those Igors can get out of control pretty quick, and you saw that he was using arrows to kind of get an arrow into that Igor, just even if it wasn't vulnerable, just so you could see where it was, because you know, between those guys and the popos, all it takes is getting knocked into a corner and you can find yourself dead pretty quick. And I would argue that dark room is probably one of the more dangerous dark rooms in the game if you don't have like extra tools.
Yeah, the fact that these guys just make it look, you know, pretty simple and easy and straightforward just means that they've practiced this a lot. And, you know, the fact that you can't actually see what you're actually doing means that they've really practiced this a lot.
Well, and I think that's what makes that particular room more dangerous, is because you can't muscle memory it like you can like the Pod Dark Dungeon or the earlier parts of Eastern Palace in the Dark. Like, it's the unpredictable nature and the RNG of those enemies' movement that just makes them so dangerous. All right, so that's Flippers in Bonk Rocks. I think that's the... Oh, no, wait. Chex had those already. So let's see what's in Agina. All right, nothing super important. I have a feeling the answer might be in some of these Flipper checks here. But we'll have to see. As we previously discussed, it looks like Eri is getting that sword in library.
Yeah, having especially a master sword at this level, Eastern for Armos doesn't matter so much for the sword strength, but the fact that he has 10 more, 11 more dungeons to go with that sword is really just going to pay dividends.
Interesting. That was only fighter sword for him. Did he skip the big key chest in Eastern? We'll have to see. Alright, we're getting some... I think we already saw Ice Rod Cave from one of our runners, but I wonder if Kyong will opt to do some of the flipper checks. So we know we got Eri checking Hobo already, so we'll see if this is All right, gloves. That's something.
It's just a minor item to try to get to Dark World.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's sometimes you gotta slap somebody, and you know, you gotta have hand protection. Like I
that
get
is
it.
really painful, Miles, with the gloves there.
Would you rather be, you know, asked for a duel and slapped in the face with the power mitts, or with the Titans mitts, or the power gloves?
Oh,
I feel like the
man.
power gloves look more metallic. You know, Titans mitts look more leathery. I don't know. I think about this kind of stuff. But
Both sound
I
pretty
know
painful,
Aries not
so.
thinking about that stuff. He's thinking about, I wonder what's in this waterfall right now.
Yeah, finding the book. This is a pretty good indication then that maybe something's in the desert area.
Yeah, with both book and gloves in the same sphere, it's really smelling like desert. Now you are a little worried because you don't have a fire source like complete desert, but with flute, it's not like it costs as much time to head back there. So I suspect that'll be where these runners head next, partially because they're running out of options.
Huh. I get it.
We didn't
running
mention it,
out of
but
options.
there was some pretty cool water walking going on with
Oh.
Kyong earlier.
Do we see that maybe we actually need to
Oh.
farm up some more money on Aries' side because Zora just gave us the Titans mitts?
Wow, those are some wet gloves. Like every piece of hand protection in this game is just rusted. Cannot. I hope they applied the salves because they're in trouble. All right, well we're just we're looking for Moon Pearl at this point. Eri very wisely taking one of the few hard mitts traps
Miles.
here.
Yeah, did you say something about needing to find the Moon Pearl for Dark World access? Because Eri just picked us up from King's Tomb. You are really just calling to see, like item for item, Miles.
Well, I mean, on one hand, I am a witch, and I have a pet
Warlock,
warrior.
right? Warlock.
I feel like it's 2020, Clear Mouse.
Oh,
can't dudes be witches? Is that?
You're right. You're right. My mistake. Please continue.
Is that a thing? Because I bought this hat. Is all I'm saying. I've got the hat. But no, I mean honestly, it's you know, when you start thinking about like sphere tracking and item progression, it's kind of one of those things that you just kind of start noticing. Now, obviously, there is a bit of dumb luck with me calling it out, but you know, items lead to other things, and that's kind of one of those things you just have to keep in mind. Now, what I really need to do is call like, oh yeah, and then the winning lottery ticket is gonna be, you know, this next buy, and that never works in real life, Clear Mouse. It only works with Link to the Past randomizer items.
That's where they pay you the big bucks anyway.
I guess. All right. Meanwhile, we found Kyong does have the mitts, but has opted to check escape instead of King's Tomb, which frankly is more checks. But this race already has the maximum amount of checks in it, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, it's you know, King's Tomb is a pretty easy spot to get to, and surely like the next time one of these guys saves and quits, you just start at Sank and just basically see what Eri did and check King's Tomb there really pretty quickly. It looks like though, looks like this is a fairly strong indication of info share. You know, Chex is also doing the backup blind set because Kyong picked up his mitts from Zora, and he needs more money at this point, right? And they know that there's a 300 back here.
Yep. Yeah, he went straight to it. So yeah, that's a very good point. And you did mention that King's Tomb being easy to get to. It is easy to get to off of a save and quit, but it is not really an easy place to flute to. And when you're running around with a flute and have a lot of checks to do, sometimes that's a location that I don't know if you put it off necessarily, but you might consider, waiting for when you do have to do a save and quit to try to route it in. So it might not always be as easy to think to route it in as you would think. All right, so Chex taking that money that you mentioned, Clear Mouse. He's gonna take all that hard-earned money that he
heard from his partner. That's
from the
right.
back of Blind's hut, and is gonna give it over to the Fish Mafia. They control all the gloves in Hyrule.
Yeah, that's true. Probably one of them just kind of got like laywayed, right? Because the hobo ended up picking it up.
Well, I would assume that he's in on the gang. You know, it's like some kind of like cartel. I don't know. If I end up drowned in a lake somewhere, you guys will all know who did it.
Yes.
All right, Eri, continuing his Skull Woods check. Skull Woods, very valuable location.
Yeah, he found a nice fire source, which means, well, nice being that he has found a visible fire source. So actually now it looks like Desert is going to be fully completable if he chooses to go over there.
Yeah, without the mirror, you're kind of in like dark mode or dark world mode at this point. So there's just going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be, you know, checked.
Yeah, and you know, so Eri is certainly very well versed in NMG, so he does have the bow to take down Lamo, but you know, it's you know, if you can maybe put it off to get some more firepower, like Temper Sword or a Fire Rod potentially, I mean, Lamo will go much quicker. But so far, at least, it seems like this seed has been actually, at least the way that these runners have played it is fairly linear, in that when they found the boots, and they found the sword in Eastern, everyone pretty much beelined it there, and then when they found the gloves at Hobo and Zora, they beelined it there, and now Chex has ended up finding pretty much our last
and
really
hammer
nice piece.
Iron
Yeah.
Shell too. That's a nice pickup for Chex. A lot of runners will opt to maybe not go there, but maybe consider doing it later when you potentially have a mirror. But again, with co-op info share, it's still a high value check, so the odds of getting it done might be perhaps earlier. So definitely paying off for him.
Yeah, the fact that, as you mentioned, it is co-op means that both of these runners, when they ended up kind of choosing what next direction they want to go, they can actually afford to take more risks, or you know, do checks that potentially may not necessarily pay like as much value if you're doing the solo.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and again, as we mentioned, it is a little bit, you know, even though you have that information sharing going, you still have to kind of efficiently route whatever it was that you were doing ahead of time. So kind of knowing when to make adjustments is definitely an important skill set in these types of co-op situations.
Yeah, and really, you know, the fact that this is co-op maybe kind of indicates that, hey, we have more information, maybe the seed will be, you know, slightly easier. So imagine running a seed by yourself and trying to keep track of like the 10, 15 different things, like, oh, what's my routing? Am I executing well? Where do I dash? How do I move? And then imagine having somebody else kind of tell in your ear constantly, like, oh yeah, like don't bother checking. Oh yeah, by the way, the fire rod is here. It's really a lot of things to keep track of.
Oh yeah. Now it is worth pointing out, we got Eri in the bottom right of your screen in Thieves Town, no hammer. Now I unfortunately missed the first couple of checks, so we don't know. You know, it'll be interesting to see if there is going to be an item locked in Thieves Town that we'll need a hammer for. Because he ain't finding it in Thieves Town.
So certainly to this point, so normally if you don't have the hammer, right, a lot of runners when you run this solo will, you know, kind of come up with a somewhat difficult decision for whether or not you want to do the back of Thieves Town, right? In co-op mode, you have a great partner or buddy that you can send later. So then if they end up finding something, you know, with the, when they come here with the hammer, and there has to be something, they can come back, but if they don't, you know, you're good to go. And you have all the knowledge, basically, of whatever else is in Thieves Town already.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's why, like, you saw Eri kind of without hesitation was like, look, I'm gonna clear out Thieves Town just in case, like, hammer itself or something else important is here. And, you know, that'll be something that maybe they'll consider putting off until they find hammer for someone like thalane who can be doing other things. So yeah, I mean, we keep talking about it, but it's just so important. Like, you know, you mentioned like all these things that, you know, you have to worry about your execution, your own item count, and your own like you know, routing and everything like that. But having all this other stuff go on too, I mean, that's where the advantage in really skilled runners is. They have to think less about their own execution because they practice it for so much. So I think you just have more room in your head for this kind of co-op stuff, which is exactly why the League is so much fun, I think.
Yeah, that was, you know, this is already season 3 of League, and one of the pieces of feedback I think that was very popular and common that was basically like when they first introduced like 1 week of co-op, everyone's like, oh, this is a lot of fun. So you definitely see a lot more co-op certainly coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think there's essentially, what, 3 co-op-ish modes? There's 2 straight up co-ops, and then there's the spoiler log, which is essentially co-op as well, so. Hey, Clear Mouse, did you know that blind is a scripted fight?
I didn't know until you just told me right now, File. So I really do appreciate the fact that you brought this to my attention. Is Eri gonna execute this?
I don't think it's really ever talked about much whenever blind is being fought, so I just thought I would point it out. But all joking aside, for a quick fight.
Yeah, fighting the mirror on blind. You kind of wonder what he's doing with that mirror because he can't see, right?
Maybe he's like a vampire and like he's like a reverse blind vampire, so he actually, blind can't actually see normally, but when she looks in the mirror, like she can see through the mirror. I don't know if anyone's ever considered an inverse vampire before, but I'm going to the patent office right after this one after copywriting that.
Yeah, make sure no one in chat also steals your idea before then.
Oh, chat. Twitch chat would never betray me. They're all sharpening their knives right now.
Yeah.
But finding that mirror in Blind's hut is kind of exactly why, Eri went in there in the first place, right? To find stuff like that he can then report to his partner. Now, what I am worried about is if none of them end up in Meyer's shed before Thieves Town, the temptation to do Thieves Town before getting the hammer could be high. I was not item counting. Maybe someone in chat can bail me out. Do we know if there's an item in Thieves Town Big Chest or not? I honestly don't know.
I'm also not quite sure, but according to our great trackers, kind of keep track of thalane and Eri side, it looks like thalane actually has the hammer marked on his tracker. So, and potentially he's going to go to Thieves Town right now. So if there's an item, we're going to find out from thalane, and also Chex.
Very true.
Well, Eri's only going to find out from thalane. I don't think he's going to be talking to Chex anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I only bring up dumb hypothetical situations, Clear Mouse. I'm not responsible for actual reality.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Kyong is the first of our 4 runners to kind of explore pod. I also, unfortunately, didn't quite see if there was anything of note yet.
It doesn't look like it. We are also seeing some of the early mirror checks here from Eri. Nothing in cave 45.
I am glad to see that Eri has successfully still carried over the purple chest. In game 1, unfortunately, he was right over there, and he mirrored right on top of where the purple chest was, so we ended up having to lose it. But good to see that in this case he has successfully delivered it.
Yes. Alright, so we've got... Alright. Wow, Gary's lunchbox. A severed human heart. That's... Don't know how I feel about that. I'm calling the cops. But here's another mirror check we're getting from Eri. Wow, our first mirror getter. Bombo's tablet.
Now, do you think this is like Galaxy Brain on Eri's part? Because he didn't end up picking up the second sword that he got from Eastern Palace, right? The fact that you can just read the tablet, maybe save some extra time.
Hook shot.
What's up?
In the big
in Thieves Town? Oh, wow.
So, all that time I spent pontificating on that check, maybe it's my spider sense was going off, and I was like, there's something there.
This is your seat to be calling out here, Files.
Apparently. This should have been a ladder race.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we are, at this point, it's, it's just going to depend on when, well, I guess thalane is going to find out pretty quick, so they're not going to lose a ton of time, but Eri is going to have to go back into Thieves Town to pick that up.
Yeah, meanwhile, Eri here ends up finding out another good piece of knowledge. There is an ice rod in Checkerboard Cave. No ice rod hunt today. Actually, it seems like then this actually might be a fairly, hopefully, nice seed because we have all 3 medallions and we have an ice rod. There's probably not too much more room.
We're kind of running out of stuff
items
that they need. I guess the fire rod and Samaria we haven't seen yet. But yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, and the fact that
let's see now. Here is that information that thalane is going to be passing on to Eri. Is like, hey, you missed something.
Yeah.
But you know what? They had that access to that mirror early too. So I don't even know if that's outside of the time loss that Eri is going to take, having to go back into Thieves Town. I'm not sure. Having that mirror earlier than their opponents, it might be kind of a wash.
Oh, did we find another upgraded sword in Hammer Pegs? Looks like Chex ended up picking up his temper sword after he, pounded a bunch of things.
Nice. Everyone's always happy to see Tempered Sword. It's really good. Like, there's a reason the NMG route goes out of its way to pick it up. Like, it's just that much better. All right. Well,
Yeah.
apparently Thalane did not get the memo on blind, but that's all right. Still a very quick fight, and he will enjoy his mirror there. Meanwhile, Kyong has been kind of steadily working his way through Eastern Palace. I don't think we've really seen much of note, as you mentioned. Alright, we'll see how this Helmosaur fight goes. First Helmosaur we've seen here. Oh, is that spin speed hammer tech I'm seeing from Kyong? Hell yeah. Good stuff. So for those that don't know, most people probably know that if you hold your sword out, your hammer hitbox gets bigger, but if you get in spin speed mode, your hammer hitbox also gets pretty large. So I think that's relatively new tech from this year. I could be wrong, so Twitch chat could help me out on that one.
Really nice fight. Even though Kyong does have blue mail, fighting Helma on 6 hearts really isn't super pleasant.
Yep, and the last item for Helmosaur was nothing important. I mean, I guess technically there's a secret extra item on Helmosaur with that green pendant that we can turn in.
Yeah, no mirror means no convenient turn-in currently, but I'm sure Kyong will be, back in the area pretty soon. Meanwhile, on Aries' side, with that Ice Rod pickup, I was actually a little surprised that he was in Desert because I didn't think his output damage was going to be that great. But yeah, he did a really nice line with Ice Rod. It's the timing is actually a little bit tricky, and not very many people used to it, so he did a really nice job.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm curious to see. I kind of like the play that Thalane and Eriror are making here with sending Thalane up to Dark Death Mountain. We haven't seen it yet. Has been in Logic. There's a lot of checks over here. Yeah, it looks like, speaking of lots of checks here, our actual checks is also heading over to Death Mountain here.
Yeah, no, this totally makes sense. Oh, speaking of which, they found just the Fire Rod in a Paradox Cave on Thalane's side. I was gonna say that this is just also really good strategy and just being very efficient in trying to make as much checks per time amortize between these two runners as fast as you can.
Yeah, Fire Rod is I think that's the last possible item that we could have for Go mode here. Oh wait, no, Samaria.
Yeah, I think we still need a cane. But having Samaria Go mode is really, really nice, right? Because we know then, for example, Samaria can't be into a rock.
Yeah, I think probably the worst place that Samaria could be at this point would be obviously in Mire. But again, with co-op, sending someone to do terrible checks, I mean, at this point, I think the runners are going to be just splitting up, doing different dungeons and just clearing them as efficiently as possible, just hoping that Canis Samaria is going to show up somewhere. All right, Todoroki is Bombos. So the hardest, I guess the most out of the way medallion was Quake, but most of the runners have picked it up anyway, so.
Yeah, I think at this point, we haven't seen, oh, I guess, oh no, we know that Mire is Ether, so it doesn't actually
correct,
look like Quake.
Yeah. So
no,
yeah, Quake never really entered the picture. So yeah, medallions aren't really going to be the gatekeeper here. I'm really curious to see if Canis Samaria ends up being on Death Mountain somewhere, this could be a blazing fast seed for these 4 runners.
And if it's one thing that these 4 runners know, it's execution.
Yes. Yeah, I would be, it will be a beautiful thing to watch if Samaria is free somewhere. But again, I think we're just going to be seeing these runners, doing their various dungeons while getting other checks in the way and just kind of hoping to stumble across it. And you can see that, both teams have sent a player to Death Mountain for previous reasons mentioned. It's just a lot of checks up there. It is worth noting though that Chexhuman does have the mirror I guess I forgot Thalane does too. So yeah, they're both able to kind of utilize that synergy to get more checks done a little bit faster up there.
Yeah, I am also kind of curious, how they're going to end up prioritizing overworld checks. For example, all of Death Mountain, both light and dark. Versus I can still go into to clear dungeons, right? Because if you're really just looking for one item, like, do you try and still do more overworld checks, or do you really just try and now focus more on dungeons because you have to complete them at some point?
Yeah, it's a good call. I mean, we the audience know where all the items are, but like for example, Team Komodo Hypers has not yet found that ice rod that you mentioned, whereas Error 216 has found that ice rod. So I'd say in terms of like contentious items, I think that is the one advantage that they have so far.
Oh,
remind me again, where was ice rod?
Ice Rod was in Checkered Brigade. Yeah, actually, I was gonna say this actually brings up a fairly decent point, right? So, when Komodo Hypers got the mids, they went to the My area and they got hammered pretty early. When Team Error went over there, they had the mirror, and so they ended up picking up Ice Rod. So that they don't have Samaria kind of makes me wonder, at least a little bit down in my mind, when they're gonna kind of go back to that area at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got. It is worth mentioning that it looks like Chex is kind of doing Hera, which is an important check that he has to get done. But the team will have isolated, I think, Ether Tablet a little bit here because Chex does not have the book yet. And
yes.
what a beautiful Hera pot that was from Chexhuman. That was incredible.
Yeah. So speaking of kind of seeing things that are doing up in Death Mountain, I'm reading through chat a bit. Looks like also according to our tracker, thalane has actually picked up the cane, and according to chat, it looks like it was from Ether Tablets.
Yeah.
That is quite the development because actually good. It seems like does that mean the Eri, thalane and Eri are in no mode between themselves?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they are in no mode.
That was so fast. Holy cow. We're at like the 36-minute mark, and these guys basically know where everything is to complete the scene.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We both missed it. Too many screens to watch. Thanks for bailing us out, chat. Yeah. That is pretty incredible. Now that, as you mentioned, that does put a disadvantage in here for Team Komodo Hypers because that ice rod I think is just gonna haunt him.
That ice rod, and yeah, in addition, I think Chad was pointing this out as well. So Chex is also up here in Death Mountain without the book. The book was found in Waterfall Cave. So I don't even think they're going to be able to know that the King of Samaria is up here in Death Mountain. Which means that, we actually just saw Kyong, for example, doing Magic Bat. Every single check basically that they're doing that's basically not either tablet at this point or checkerboard cave is just going to be more of a time loss.
Yes, exactly. Well, and it just happens to be you can't even just the way that they've chosen to route Death Mountain with not having that book. It's just kind of an unfortunate check. I mean, not having that book and isolating that spot it's just kind of rough all around.
Yeah, we also see a little bit more difference here, between how much progress Chex has to make in Hera versus thalane. Once I think thalane found the cane, he just ended up completing Hera? I don't even think he did basement. But looks like Chex, because there's one more item presumably left here in the big chest, he has to kind of sit through this 1-minute tile room cutscene.
Yeah, the Tale of the Tiles is a long and boring story. I
happen to like that book.
Yeah, did not sell the script. The novelization did not sell very well. And Chex is disappointed by the contents. He's so very close to the item that he needs to get.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly just we as viewers know where he needs to go, right? But he's so close and yet so far away.
Yeah, and Chex is just a few hearts short of being able to do burn a spike cave without any safeties. So had to reflute there as he was thinking about it.
Meanwhile, thalane is really trying his hardest to get to Mathila. We kind of see the disadvantage of having sword beams there because he was trying to slash at the Gibdo, and the the Gyupto's the temper sword damage was just not registering.
Yes. Yeah, I mean this race has basically just become how soon does either Chex get the book and go back up and check Ether Tablet, or how soon does Kyong get up there? I mean, these guys aren't dumb. They know that that's a check that they don't have, you know, but sometimes it's rando. You just have to, you kind of put off checks to certain other locations, you know, that it could just easily have not been there. So, yeah, this game, I think, has really just come down to that. Like, how soon is that check going to happen? Because I'm feeling like, you know, against opponents as high quality as thalane and Eri, that seems pretty rough. Like, I'm trying to think of scenarios in which that could work out in their favor or get them back, but it ain't looking good. Short of like Tau Room, Big Key, Ganon's Tower shenanigans. It is always cool to see if teams get to Ganon's Tower at approximately the same time, like how they choose to route it. That's always kind of fun.
Yeah, and kind of as just like a further consequence of not having the book and you know, in being in no mode for these guys, because Kyong looks like, because he's kind of in the desert area, hopefully he'll pick up his Ice Rod soon.
Oh yeah, well, Thalane's gonna do Meyer here, and then he's gonna pick up his Ice Rod on the way out, and he will be basically in go mode, I think.
Minus the cane, right?
Well, Thalane's got the cane. Maybe I misspoke.
Oh,
there.
sorry. I'm sorry. I was staring at Kyong's screen, and I was like, they still need the cane in order to find go mode.
Well,
but yes,
no
thalane.
matter which,
Yeah,
no matter
thalane is
which
great.
cane you look at, like the execution is just on point. Like it's like watching Eri's Thieves Town dive in back here will certainly be interesting. Like this is the time loss that Eriror 216 is really going to be eating here. Is Eri has to go back into Thieves Town here and pick up that hook shot that he's missing. So this is the check that the Komodo Hypers are not having to do. So this is definitely the spot where that team falls behind. But the more checks that the Komodo Hypers have to do, basically the longer this seed goes and they don't find that Ether Tablet check, the worse it is for them.
Yeah, and you know the fact that well, we know the cane is on Ether Tablet, but you know I think there are lots of dungeons that neither of the four runners have visited. For example, we see Chex kind of diving into Ice Palace. He's going to take his time basically to full clear to try and find Kane, right? But we know that on you know, for thalane and Eri, they're just going to be able to go mode Ice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, given the few number of dungeons that thalane and Eri have actually cleared, like they're going to be able to go mode like a ton of really long dungeons, right? They're going to be able to go mode Swamp, for example. They're going to be able to go mode Ice.
Swamp and Ice,
yeah,
and I mean, and we're gonna see the exact consequences of what you're saying, because you know in the bottom left corner of your screen you're gonna see Chex. Now you know he's going to not only is he gonna have to do Ice Palace and check all the checks, but he does not have Cane of Samaria, so he can't do Icebreaker.
We're just gonna be graced. We're just gonna be graced with the more traditional Ice Palace bomb jump, or maybe a hover if Chex is comfortable with it.
It's the lack of an icebreaker is causing me to have a heartbreaker, Clear Mouse. Alright, remember to quit your service. Yeah, we'll get to see the classic Ice Palace bomb jump. Rarely used these days. We had a couple of people ask where Book was. Book was in the waterfall, or wait, Book was in Waterfall Cave, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Up by Zora. So, and we know that Cane of Samaria is on the Ether Tablet, so that has kind of been the story of this seed. Been seeing some nice spooky action glitch from thalane there. Good work.
Yeah, we literally could see it because he had the lamp. Thalane, I'm sure, is very also capable of doing dark spooky without the lamp.
Yep, and Eri picking up his Cane of Samaria. And he'll be heading over, I believe, to pick up his fire rod that his teammate has told him is on East Death Mountain here. I believe it was in Paradox. Meanwhile, we're getting a glorious tour of Ice Palace from our good friend Chexhuman.
Yeah, coupled with the other really dungeon that you want to go mode on Kyong's side, which is Swamp.
Oh yeah, that's such a nice. It's such a nice go mode. left side swamp is the bane of a lot of runners in this game, and being able to come in here knowing that you can just blow through it, dive her down, make your way through it, it's very nice. I guess the only real question, although I guess Kyong's team, I mean, I guess what are the chests that they're gonna open, right? Like, what would be the cool stuff that they would get, like half magic or silvers, right?
Yeah, or a potential fourth sword. Certainly, neither of these runners need a fourth sword, but I don't think they're going to turn it down at this point. Just
Although,
because
they're not in go mode, so they have to full clear the whole thing because they don't know where Samari is yet. So I was getting a little ahead of myself there, but yes.
Well, it would still not surprise me if Kyong ended up deciding to skip left side. Because, so Kyong ended up picking up the ice rod, right? So then they really still are just one item go mode. Like they could, in this case, and Kyong could potentially decide, well, if there's only one item left, maybe my time is better spent trying to check other areas.
Oh yeah, having one item go mode, that's definitely a very reasonable play. And we're getting a nice bomb setup from Kyong here. Yeah, looks like he didn't quite get the positioning he wanted there. There you go. Yeah, there are quite a few setups for diver down there, bomb or Samaria, but since he doesn't have Samaria, I had to use bombs.
Yeah, it really goes actually to show you the value of basically still knowing your bomb setups. Ice Palace bomb jump without ice. That when you can't do icebreaker, diver down with bombs when you can't do. When you can't do it with the King of Samaria. Like you really don't know like when things like are gonna come in handy.
I used to say that I always thought that for brand new runners interested in this game, the Ice Palace bomb jump was probably one of the most important tricks to learn early, outside of like Silverless Ganon. And with Icebreaker, that's maybe a little less true, but it's still good to have that knowledge in your pocket because there are times you're just not going to have Canis Samarian. Alright,
Meanwhile,
also almost gets a really nice beginning of Argus there.
I
unfortunately get a puff cycle.
Yeah, no, I certainly enjoy the quick swap though. To Ice Rod, another really nice feature that has been allowed, I guess, for League. You don't have to open up your menu anymore in order to swap between items.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean they are just pounding dungeons down at this point. I mean, Error 216 is just killing it.
Yeah, and we really can see actually, it looks like Kyong is actually going to go back for left side. This is going to be another pretty major difference between Aries Clear. He's already pretty much at Argus. And we know that Kyong definitely started a swamp, a good amount before Aerie did.
Well, it's also worth pointing out too that we talked about how like the big hurt, I guess, for Error 216 this match was Aerie having to go back into Thieves Town to get that hook shot. And you'll notice that if you look at the tracker, thalane is quite a few dungeons ahead of his partner, and as you'll recall, the way the timing works here is that you basically take the average of each of the two runners, and that is the time for the team. So I'm not super worried for Error 216, but if Aerie's too far behind from having to do those checks, it could be relevant, I guess.
Yeah, and Flame and Aerie don't know where Kyong and Chex are, right? If he goes for all they know, right? They basically did all the same things, but they had the hammer, when they were in these down, as you said, right? So then if they're they could certainly be feeling very behind.
Oh yeah. I'm just I was watching Chex mirror after getting done with a legit old school clear of Ice Palace, and I'm just imagining him saying, "Well, Kyong, there wasn't anything in Ice Palace." Just the sadness. I had to do Samaria-less Ice Palace, and I'm sad now.
What's worse, Samaria-less Ice Palace or left side swamp without diver down?
You think you've got it bad, Chex? Let me tell you what I'm doing. I had to go back into swamp to check the left side.
Speaking of just super high level execution, also pointed out here by chat, Aerie had a really, really nice zero cycle Argus. Thalane also had a really nice icebreaker.
Oh, he even got the extra popo on the dash. That was incredible. That Meyer too. Aries is some kind of execution bot. I don't know how he does it. You will notice that thalane, even though they are in no mode over there, I guess thalane's technically in go mode. He is still picking up some of the easy chests. Now, obviously, he's not going to pick up the Freezor chest, a nice palace there. But he has picked up some of the easy ones, so I think it's because he knows he's a little bit ahead, at least compared to his partner. He's like, I'll check these easy chests, you know, maybe I'll get a sword or silvers or something. I think silvers at this point is the only thing that would be worth it for these runners, just in terms of time saves. And not that they need them again, it's just time save.
I mean, they haven't picked up any shields, right? Like, I think they need a lot more protection.
From...
I don't know, man. I don't even know what shields protect you from.
I'm trying to think of like what shields are good for in this game. Random projectiles, lasers. Oh, thalane had such a good setup for that cold stare, but got a little out of position with the ice block there. But he got the dash poke, which is arguably the hardest part of that setup. So. Oh, and Kyong is having to. He's doing the walk over for the OJ bomb. I think Team Komodo Hypers is slowly, as Chad has pointed out, I think they're slowly running out of, like, I think Kyong is going to do Pyramid Catfish. And there's not a whole lot of overworld locations left, I think, for them, you know, minus the one that they have to go do, which is Ether Tablet. Meanwhile, Team Eriror 216 just continues to blow doors down. Every time I like look over at thalane's screen, like there's another dungeon that's done.
Yeah, we really could see, you know, just kind of being side-by-side comparison. You know, Chex has entered Meyer along with Eri, but, you know, Chex has to basically spend more time, you know, making, basically clearing what, all 8 items or something, you know, in order to look for the missing items that potentially could be some Aria. Whereas Eri is basically right at Vitreous, and, you know, being as well versed in NMG as he is, like, this fight should be relatively easy for him.
Wow, actual legitimate vanilla butter sword in the pyramid. Can't argue with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly what Kyong was looking for and was hoping to get.
Yeah, the vanilla butter sword. Yeah, you're right, Chad. That does sound tasty. That sounds like something you would bake into some kind of Hylian like pie.
Have you ever had a butter pie? That actually sounds kind of like my arteries just felt a little bit like smaller.
Well, isn't like butter cake a thing? And now I'm just hungry, Clearmouse. The only thing I'm hungry for is amazing ALTTPR League content, Clearmouse. I don't need your fancy butter cake. I only have an appetite for randomizer routing and execution.
Well, be sure and ask lots of questions for these really great runners after they finish their race.
Yeah, so my first question for thalane is going to be, do you enjoy butter cake?
Yeah. I was going to ask if it's an American thing.
People want to know the
Yeah.
Alright, so now we are going to get to see... I mean, these guys are just crushing these dungeons. Like, it's like they're gonna get to do, you know, they're gonna get to do like the Death Mountain into Aga 1, Ganon 2 kill. Like, it's just gonna be real clean.
As a reminder, this is an all dungeon seed. The best routing, as Files mentioned, is that if you can save basically everything that you have uploaded to the mountain in one trip, that is the best. So Turtle Rock into Ganon, into Aga 1, sorry, into Ganon. Turtle Rock into Aga 2, into Aga 1, into Ganon.
Numbers are hard, Clearmouse.
Yeah, I know, I know, I'm not good with numbers, Files. That's why you're here for me.
It's counting numbers. Discussions of fattening foods. That's what that's the content people tune in for. All right, I just keep hoping that Komodo Hypers are gonna make their way up to Death Mountain with their books, but I mean, they are getting dungeons done, albeit they are getting them done a little bit slower than their opponents, just because they don't get to free. You know, go mode them, but they are making progress. After a certain point, you just have to start clearing your dungeons and hoping that your items will follow, because you have to do those dungeons anyway. I mean, it's just solid routing. this exact situation just kind of worked out to be unfortunate for Chex and Kyong.
Yeah, and really, because Kyong's up at Death Mountain now, so hopefully this could be a Spike Cave, slash Ether Tablet check. Yeah, because certainly one of the disadvantages, especially because the book was in Waterfall Fairy, and Kyong had already kind of gone over there, and so did Chex. It's really inefficient for Chex to go back just for the book, and then to go back to Death Mountain to basically make 2 more checks.
Oh yeah, well I mean he's gonna have to.
He doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't want it. Well, poor Chex didn't want to do Samaria-less Ice Palace either, but that's the world we live in. But yeah, I think at this point their best hope is Kyong will, I think, eventually get over there, and that'll be when they say, "Oh no." Nope, there's the flute.
Nope. Looks like they want to clear out Skull Woods first.
Well, sometimes when you're doing rando, you have to constantly evaluate and reevaluate why you skip a location, and it can be tough. Do I continue skipping this location? Like, what is the reason I skipped this location before, and is that reason still true? And it can lead to decision making that is good or bad, but you just have to constantly reevaluate. Like, why did I skip this location? Well, I had all this other better stuff to do. Sphere tracking kind of led me to think this was true. But after a while, sometimes people will just permanently write off a location, and they'll say, "I'm not ever coming back here again." And if it's here, I lose the game. The danger in that is exactly that. If you write off a location for no apparent reason, then you will lose the game. So you just always have to be constantly evaluating, why did I skip this location, and are those reasons still true? And I think like high tier runners are very good at that kind of decision tree making.
Yeah, speaking of pretty much just writing off locations, Chex did make a mountain trip specifically to check Spike Cave, which of course, is available to him, but
you didn't have the book, Clear Mouse.
Nope. Yeah, that is really unfortunate.
Never learned how to read, our boy Chex.
Well, he already picked up the sword from the library. I think he just really wanted to go fight Ganon.
I mean, he is a big jerk. I can't stress that enough.
Even though we know that the Butter Sword is in Pyramid Fair, my guess is that Chex is probably not going to take the time in order to pick that sword up.
Oh yeah, well you got Tempered. That's all you need. Runners of this caliber,
that's all they need.
Master Sword. The fact that they both have Tempered is just kind of a happy coincidence to having opened up chests. Although Tempered is a big time save if you get it early enough in the seed for various fights.
All right. Well, Kyong, I'm glad at least didn't read the pedestal because he has the book.
Here you go, Twitch chat. It's your
Blind
moment to shine.
All right, he's not going to get banned from anything.
Yeah. Blind pull ped. Kyong is a man of the people. He knows what's up. And he's only rewarded with a piece of heart. His shattered hopes and dreams are reflected in the item that he got from the pedestal. Oh my god, is that Fair Mouth?
Yeah, Kyong's back up in Death Mountain, and he's the one with the book on their side, and I think this is the only thing left on their side to do.
I'm legitimately wondering, yeah, like Twitch chat is talking about it right now, like this might be like the last check. Well, and I talked about it a little bit in my gigantic rant, but I wonder if they either wrote off this location and said if it's here we lose, or maybe there was perhaps some miscommunication, like maybe Chex said that, Death Mountain was clear and there was some misinterpretation, but either way, there you go. That's Canis Samaria, so that is no mode for Team Komodo Hypers. They are unfortunately several dungeons behind their competitors. Yeah, and then Kyong just immediately says, I got dungeons to clear, go pick up your Samaria.
Yeah. And, at least Kyong setting up a really nice spooky there with the flute. He unlike his co-op partner Chex, he gets to complete Ice Palace with the Canis Samaria and Icebreakers. We're going to see some nice tech on both sides.
Yeah, very true. I mean, yeah, like it's just gonna be slam dunk dungeons at this point. And you'll notice too that once that information came, Chex immediately was like, "All right, get the big key, and we're finishing up pod. Like, there ain't nothing else to see here, folks." But unfortunately, on the side of Error 216, well, I guess unfortunately for Komodo Hypers, those guys are just way ahead in terms of completed dungeons.
Yeah, as you said, they were Chex and Kyong were making some pretty good progress and clearing dungeons kind of as they're going to also search, but it's really like you can definitely see the significant time difference between a dungeon that you have to clear to check everything versus go find the big key or whatever I need in order basically to get to the boss.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, even though it looks like nice. Yeah, so we see Thalane taking down Trinex.
Nice Trinex fight by
yeah.
Thalane there.
And Eri, it looks like actually he was also to skip Laser Bridge, potentially because Lane, was doing some nice scouting for him. But I can only imagine that this type of, Eri is also going to have a really nice Trinex fight as well. Pretty dang close for both these guys. I think they're probably going to finish the game, relatively close to each other.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, unless some insanity happens, I mean, it's the first and second place of this 4-player race is going to be Thalane and then Eri, I think. The story of this seed was Canis Samaria on Ether that one, unfortunately. Yeah, Chex in having a turtle party, unfortunately, it looks like. That's another one of those, we talked about dark rooms earlier in the seed when we were talking about the Igor room in Eastern Palace. And the reason it was difficult is because of enemy RNG. And Turtle Party is another room in Eastern Palace there where it just, not having the magic to light the torches there with Fire Rod is just costing Chex time here. And sometimes there's not much you can do. He's probably listening in, trying to hear where the turtle hits are, knock him over with his hammer, but sometimes it just costs you time.
Is he almost through this room? I guess I can't even tell.
Yep, he got it.
Meanwhile, all right, that's
nope.
great.
There we go. So, that was his last turtle. I think there we go.
Yeah, meanwhile, we see Thalane actually in GT already. I think we probably missed the boat on something about yes in GT big game. But looks like he is going to take a full right approach. Checked Hope Room first, found a small key,
does
and
he
he's gonna
do
go
Tower Room?
time.
Ah, Thalane, you coward. I trusted you, Thalane. I believed in you. All joking aside, though, Tower Room first is always the wrong choice. unless you're like going for like Omega level gambles, Tower Room first is a bad idea, and you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, especially like Thalane must be actually feeling pretty good. He knows he's ahead, especially to him, Eri. He doesn't need to take that kind of risk to check Tower Room.
Well, you're an hour and 1 minute, and you're in GT. And like you're in go mode, and like you got to be feeling pretty decent. Like things came together relatively well for them this seed. All right, wait a minute. Kyong's Meyer too, also very solid. Didn't have quite the same Popo luck, but still one cycled it. That's like one of my favorite rooms to watch. Like people that do that room well. It's a cool room.
It is. It certainly is a hallmark for a really well skilled or practiced runner. Can you believe that Thalane didn't take the shield from the torch? Like, I don't know how he's gonna finish the seed otherwise.
I'm gonna start calling you Shield Mouse. You love the shields. I mean, I guess if you don't have boots, Mirror Shield is faster than waiting the cycle for the beams in Turtle Rock Laser Bridge. I'm digging here, Mouse. I'm trying so hard.
But they'd also have to find like 2 more shields, right? Because I think it was just Fighter Shield on the torch for Thalane.
That's true. Well, I'm gonna laugh pretty hard if at the end of all this, GT Big Key actually is in Tower Room. I would enjoy that. All right, we're seeing some quick swap usage out of Thalane there. Good work. We're still waiting for that GT Big Key.
Speaking of shields, I guess he was forced to pick that one up.
Wow, same screen, thalane and Eri right now. Don't see that super often in co-op.
Yeah, it looks
Eri's
like...
catching up though, because he does not have to wait for the chests like his partner does. Like he'll be able to blow past randomizer room here if you'll probably see him wait here for his partner to tell him whether or not he has to come in. Oh, there it is. Yep. All right, randomizer room, Binky.
So, did you notice that all 3 shields were in GT, one of them being on the torch, and thalane actually has fire shield, but because he's probably feeding information to Eri, Eri has no shields.
Wow. That would be a rough seed for you, Clear Mouse. So I have to wait all the way until GT for your precious shields. All right, well, we're gonna see some GT tower execution between teammates here.
You think they're gonna race against each other?
Yes, they are in my head, which is a scary place to be. Look at that wicked mimics execution from Eri there. That was sick. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, Eri probably...
Thalane no slouch though. He's also getting work done here.
Yeah, Eri probably knows a thing or two about clearing GT Gauntlet on Temper Sword and just the regular bow.
Yeah, he's probably Mr. Number 4 NMG. I think he's probably done this a few times. Thalane no slouch either though. He's making real good work in this GT here. Now we're gonna see Kyong. He's got Turtle Rock and Hera to do, but he will be able to get. He's basically doing all of his kind of Death Mountain dungeons all at once, so he'll be able to kind of combine this, have at least a little bit of efficiency here. Ooh, thalane combining a sword spin with 5 fire rod shots for land mode 2. That is harder than it looks because you lose time on the sword spin to kind of recover for the fire rod shots. So very well done there. Let's see what Eri does. The same thing. Look at that. Look at that land mode 2 action right there. Bam, bam, right in a row.
It's almost as if they're, practicing that screen or something.
Chad is just saying, like, I just like watching the execution, and I cannot argue with you. Always a treat to see. I mean, stuff like, we joke about it a little bit, but like, I mean, routing is one thing, but you can make a lot of routing mistakes. If your execution is amazing, you save a lot of time. And if your routing is really good and your execution is really good, then you're like these 4 runners here. All right, so as previously mentioned, Kyong heading into Turtle Rock. Like I said, he'll have some dungeon synergy in the Dark World here. Wow, was that bonk strats with lantern lighting from thalane? That was awesome. Meanwhile, we've got Chexhuman finishing up Misery Mire.
Yeah, thalane, slightly ahead of his partner Eri, ended up checking some chests here in GT, finds the silvers, and he's like, hey, let's go use some silvers against Ganon.
Wait, was silvers in there? I was watching. Oh, that's disgusting. Like, of all the checks, like, there's basically only a handful of checks that you would bother with at this point, and those are one of them, and they happen to have silvers. That's disgusting. Man, I was looking forward to some non-silvers NMG silverless Ganon style. Come on, Seed. Why you gotta ruin this for me?
I don't have any muscle memory for silver Ganon, so maybe they're just gonna fall back to silverless.
I would appreciate that. Their timers probably would, because even with highly skilled runners, silvers is still a time save. It's a lot of time spent lighting torches and doing spins. So why do that when you can just pew silvers?
Yeah, and certainly these runners don't need it, but they also just have regular magic, not half magic. So, conservation of magic probably isn't too big of a concern, but it still could be an issue.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, with like you said, with silvers, it's just nice to have, but.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Kyong taking the emergency ferry there. That's another thing we could talk about too. Is it doesn't matter how good you are, you have to know your limits and balance your risk versus reward. Now, is Kyong good enough to go through the entire rest of this dungeon and not take a single other hit? Yes, of course he is. But why take that risk, right? Take the extra 2 seconds and quick swap to powder and get full health back. You know, there's zero reason to take those kinds of risks. You know, like I myself am guilty of this. If you die and you had an extra potion in your inventory and it costs you 3 minutes to recover from that death, you know, what was the point of saving that potion, right? You know, you gotta make the smart plays. And that Kyong taking the extra 2 seconds to get that fairy is a smart play. There's no reason to take those kinds of risks.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point, their biggest time loss, their biggest controllable time loss is basically taking a death. Right, so if you can prevent that death, as you said, like that is why spend. You'd rather spend 2 seconds, right, versus like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have Twitch chat pointing out that Dunka pointing out that it would be pretty hilarious if Thalane and Eri forgot they had one more. Each had a pendant dungeon to complete and tried to jump in the Ganon hole. I would enjoy that personally.
You know, and if they do it, at least hopefully they'll do it together, right?
They live and die together. That would be the ultimate show of teamwork right there.
Team camaraderie, right? I mean, they pretty much like cleared like last like 20 minutes worth of the sea together. And why not, you know, jump it again? And if they still have a pendant dungeon each.
It's like that. It's like my mother used to say: if all your friends jumped off a cliff, would you jump off too? And the answer is, if that cliff led to a giant blue pig, then probably yes. All right, let's see how Chex decides to handle his Argus fight here. Oh, doing the poke dashes. Is he going to get the good RNG for 1 cycle? That was bad RNG.
Yeah, meanwhile, we see actually Kyong doing Trinex with backdoor stress in the Masters. With
that going to be a 0 cycle Trinex?
It is, yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, buddy. Komodo Hyper is showing off exactly why they won the last match with those kinds of execution plays right there.
Should we be disappointed in Eri here because, you know, Thalane ended up getting the hook speed, you know, from the stairs, but, you know, Eri had to, you know, manually dash over to cut the curtain.
I mean, in his defense, that doesn't come up in NMG like ever. But yeah, he's bleeding time. All right, we got the blue ball game here. I've counted one so far. That's okay. 2. That's just there needs to be just a Dark World % category for NMG. Just get past all this blue ball nonsense. There probably is, and I'm just ignorant. That's always a possibility. All right, let's see this hook speed from Kyong. Gets the buffer. Oh, almost had it perfect. I think he perfectly nailed it the last time I watched him do it. But if you could do that with only, it's like a minimum of 2 buffers for that setup. And he just had to do 1 extra, so still very, very good Herapod setup there. Alright, so the dungeons at each of the 2 runners on Eriror 216 looks like Thalane's got Pod and Eri's got Skull Woods. Pod definitely a little bit longer than Skull Woods, but Skull Woods is harder to get to, I would argue. You have more transitions to get through to it. And so it's interesting to note that Eri's kind of big time loss, and that he had to go back into Thieves Town to get that hook shot that their team worked on. They're still going to end up pretty close together in the end.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think it looks like he would actually want to mirror to the light world and then flutes. But I think maybe that mirror block wasn't expected.
I mean, the important thing is that neither one of them tried to go in the Ganon hole. So, I mean, they got that going for them.
I can't actually remember where the big key in Pod was, but hopefully Thalane's going to be able to skip.
It was vanilla, I believe. I think it was the vanilla. Okay. The vanilla big key chest. All right, so Kyong first into GT for Team Komodo Hypers. Looks like he is going full right here, so he will find the key eventually in Randomizer room.
Yeah, with running like this, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to gain back any more time on thalane and Eri.
Yeah, though it's worth pointing out that they're, you know, like Kyong has all of his dungeons done. So I mean, obviously he has AGA 1 to still complete once he gets done with GT here, but will not have had to have left to go do dungeons like thalane and Eriror. So yeah, I agree with chat right now, who is saying that things have ended up relatively close despite what you might have thought. I mean, even with the mistakes, quote-unquote mistakes with missing items here, which I don't even know are huge mistakes, these guys are just so good at the game that the time penalty that they have taken for said flubs is small in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, we're gonna be sub 120, I think, for Team Error 216 for an all dungeons co-op seed. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, considering they hit pretty much no mode at like the 36 or something minute mark. I mean, the fact that they're able to basically clear 10 dungeons, like in like the next 30 minutes, is you know, just like really impressive.
All right, so Thalane's got his big key. I mean, you know, we were talking about the difference between Pod and Skull Woods, and you're seeing it play it out in real time right now. I mean, Eri just went back and destroyed Mothula, but Thalane had to go, and even though he knew where big key was, he still have to go in, get a small key, you know, wait for bombs, mirror out, go back in, like, and then you have to wait for the Pod cutscene. It just takes longer. It's just a longer dungeon. He does have silvers though, so he only has to shoot the red mimic once. I mean, that's a huge time save right there.
You know, he gets to shoot a silver arrow to Helmasaur. That potentially could, you know, be what, like a couple seconds or something.
Exactly. Meanwhile, I blinked and missed it. Eri already into phase 3 of his Ganon fight.
Alright, Kyong picked up his GT big key. He is now going to ascend the gauntlet. I'm going to assume that he is going to make some more checks, but maybe given that he thinks that his team is, you know, a little bit behind, maybe he just wants to, you know, make this go as fast as possible.
Gets the triple on Ganon with the torch relight. That was good stuff from Eri right there. So bust out your GGs in chat, because that was an impressive performance from Eriror right there. Eri finishes with an official time of 1:16:31. And his friend Thalane not going to be too far behind. Oh no, Chex takes a death, but has a fairy. Alright, I was going to say, I could have swore there was a fairy in a bottle here.
You know, given that it looks like, according to our tracker, he's already completed Skull Woods, that means that I guess he's gonna go without, he did basically the entire seed with no lamp.
Oh yeah. Chex has been, I mean, we talked about a little bit when he had to do like the turtle party room, like he has been doing all these dark rooms just non-stop, so they're getting work done. Chex has got to dig for a small key to get into Turtle Rock. There we go. And see, that's the thing with co-op info share, like a little stuff that you just take for granted, like where's that extra small key I need to get in the back of the dungeon? Like your partner might say, oh, it was on Laser Bridge, but like you might not always remember exactly what chest it was in. So. We got Thalane's Ganon fight going. We're already into phase 2 here. Things are relatively straightforward with Tempered Swords, so. Kyong not having quite as good a luck with his Landmo, but still Buttersaur makes pretty quick work of him.
Meanwhile, on Chex's side, he's having a really nice Trinex play. He ended up doing backdoor strats. You can't end up getting the 0 cycle, but still really nicely executed. You don't see any ice on the floor. reduces the most amount of lag.
Oh yeah, well without butter, I don't
Right,
think you can get a 0 cycle
Yeah, that's
if
right.
memory serves. Wow, did Flame just get a sword slash silverless hit on Ganon? That's
You
actually
love those
impressive.
silvers.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but all right, does get the triple to finish it up though. So toss out your GGs for our boy Thalane. Just putting on Team Air 216, just putting on a performance here. It was beautiful to watch. And
Yeah,
Thalane finishing up an official time of 1:18:59, so just barely beat the sub 1:19.
Yeah, for a co-op info share C such as this, when both runners end up having all the knowledge they needed, pretty much at like the halfway mark, for how good these guys' execution is, it's just really a really nice treat to be able to see them basically just tear down like the entire game.
Oh yeah, and before they join us in chat, or in voice here, I should say all the bad things I want to say about Ari and Thalane. Oh crap, here they are. Ari and Thalane, GG's, you guys
GG's,
crushed
guys.
this seed.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, GG's, yeah.
That's actually true, so.
I gotta say, this I don't know how much you guys talked after the race, but the story of the seed really just ended up being Canis Samaria on Ether Tablet.
Yeah, we were thinking about what might have like held them up, and it was just maybe Hookshot and Kane, I guess, and like pretty much everything else was like right there where you went, I think.
Yeah, was because one of the things that you guys did that I really liked was sending in somebody early to Thieves Town, even without the hammer, and it kind of ended up paying off because Blind had mirror, so Ari was able to do a whole bunch of mirror checks kind of early, but having someone else go back in there with hammer just so you don't kind of screw yourself over it was really good. Like, was that what your thought process was, or was it not that complicated?
So we said. Yeah, I just elaborate, I think. So we sent Arian because he was like, do we do Thieves Town immediately today? Because yesterday we just held it off forever, and I think it burnt us, right? Yeah. Anyway, so we sent him in without hammer, and then Mirror ended up on blind. So that was like the major incentive for me to also come back. But we were always thinking, okay, as soon as I get the hammer, like I can just do it, and then we see if like what's in big chest. And yeah, happily Blind had hammers, mirror, I mean, so we ended up getting that hook shot earlier than if Blind did not have the mirror, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That was just a solid move. I mean, that's the kind of important stuff you got to think about with this co-op stuff.
Yeah,
So,
it was. Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. It was possibly a mistake that we didn't actually do like the Mire shed before we went into the normal Dark World, the main Dark World area, because it is a quick check. Getting information about Mire is useful. Well, I mean, in this case, it might be a little bit resource-oriented thinking, because Hammer ended up being there, of course. So it was a little bit awkward having to like double dip thieves for me. On the other hand, it did work out, just getting the early mirror, being able to check all those things, and being able to clean up all of everything afterwards, getting the tempered sword as well. So overall, pretty happy with the routing and how it all worked out. But yeah, it was a little bit of maybe a dubious decision to leave Mire for a little bit.
Yeah, I could see how you would think that. I will say that your opponents did check the Mire area early. I think Chex ended up going to Mire Shed and had Hammer relatively early in Dark World Access. So yeah, I could definitely see why you would think that. How does it feel to have gotten revenge on your opponents? Or you can say whatever you were going to say before I blathered over you, Flynn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the original plan was to send 2 people via Village of Outcasts into Dark World. One, like, do the dungeons, and the other one just, like, go to Hype Cave ASAP. So we can find the hammer, but, like, really me, because I was, like, the Hype Cave person, if that makes sense. I should have checked Mire Shed before doing that, I think, and yeah. But it ended up only costing us, like, what, 1.5 minutes or something? Or, like, divided by 2, so not even a minute, I guess, in total time, so that's okay.
Yeah, well, however long it takes Eri to go back into the big chest and thieves.
Yeah, let me tell you, that's not long.
No. Like I say, you guys had some real. It was a real treat watching you guys. You had some real solid execution. It was kind of funny. You guys were on the same screen in GT a couple of times, which doesn't often happen in co-op.
Yeah, I think both our races we ended up being pretty synced up. Yesterday we had like most of the sort of rock being synced up, I think. And today we were like in Gauntlet around the same time, so it was really funny. But yeah, I'm really happy with how we played. I had a lot of small things to show off, like Spin Speed Helma. It's a cool new attack.
Yeah, that was cool to see. Yeah, that was that's new tech from this year, isn't it? Like earlier this year.
Yeah, even like a month ago. It's really new.
Yeah, it's pretty new. Yeah, it just feels good not having to sit around with your sword out.
Yeah, it makes fights so much safer.
Alright, so we got your opponent's Chex just picking up his silver arrows. One advantage they do have over you is that they were able to get kind of all their dungeons done before the Dark World climb, so they're going to be able to do Aga 1 and then just kind of go straight into Gan at that point.
Yeah, so thalane came up with the idea to just leave 1 or 2 of the pendant dungeons for after you do Aga 1, because then you can just save and quit after you do the Dark World pendant dungeon and just end up on the pyramid, so you don't have to go all the way back to the pyramid.
I like that. Speaking of which, speaking of things I like, you might have missed it, but Chex not only just did fake powder, but is attempting to hover Moldorm too. Oh wait, he fell. That's a tough hover.
But yeah, regarding your earlier question, we just talked about that like before we came over here. Like it feels really good being 1-on-1 against these guys, because this is like, I think this goes for both sides. This is like a losing matchup you're facing, kind of. So like you take any win you can get. So I think like going even in this is like optimal for both of us.
Oh yeah, well I mean, Clearmouse and I talked about it a lot during the race, but it's like I can look at any 4 screens and just be treated to great execution. Like you guys, you guys put on a show, and Kyong and Chex and also Frame really put on a good show this week with you guys. So yeah, I could see how you'd be happy with with 3 points for each team. You'll take it, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So while we're waiting for your opponents to finish here, are you guys have anything, any particular mode you're looking forward to, or any comments? Because I think next week is just defeat Gan in open mode, if memory serves, correct?
Yeah, I think it's just yeah. Let me see real quick what the modes are, because I tend to forget that.
Thalane takes it a week at a time.
Pretty much. I'm just mostly looking forward to the co-op things. It's what I definitely enjoy most about Rando at the moment. Just being able to have something to do while running the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad there's like no cross keys, but I think we've said that a couple of times already. But other than
I was
that,
debating asking you if you were looking forward to Cross Keys Week, but I didn't want to anger people any more than they might already be.
Nah, I mean, it's not too important. It just would have been nice, I guess. Like, I don't look forward to any particular mode. I just really dislike spoiler log, but I'm still going to run one of the matches. But this time I won't be reading the spoiler like last season, so that's good. It's like a 200% quality increase for me, so yeah.
Kyong did do hook speed in the Aga 1 cutscene, so I wanted to point that out for chat.
I tried, okay.
Yeah, we saw. And in fact,
I didn't want to call you out directly, Eri, but I kind of just did.
Yeah, and in fact, you and Thalane Eri were, you guys were in the same screen at the same time, and we saw Thalane get the hook speed, and then it was just like, and then Eri was just like, oh.
And then I messed up the curtain, and then he probably got that earlier. So.
I was trying really hard to be like, oh, I guess it's curtains for Thalane.
Nice. Yeah, but it's probably like something I'm looking forward to. Open AD keys is one of my favorite modes. Just will clear everything, be efficient.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the season that was on the ladder, so it'll be nice to see some high quality play from the league on that one for sure.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not a huge fan of Randomizer, but seeing it in co-op should probably be interesting.
Yeah, you'll maybe be able to make riskier plays than you might normally with depending on what bosses are and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, information is going to be really important about that. So I think it will be interesting to try that out. Other than that, I mean, just a nice variety of modes, and it's really fun playing with a team and being reliant on each other for a little bit.
Yeah, if you haven't, for people that are watching here, if you haven't done or experienced co-op, like it's definitely a very interesting and kind of fun way to play what is kind of otherwise a solitary adventure that is rando. So doing co-op is kind of fun with InfoShare because you get to really juggle a lot of things in your head. So did you guys do a lot of practice or preparation for this week at all, or
Nope.
you just let the natural teamwork and years of friendship shine through, right?
I mean, we've done that in the past a couple of times. Like, I remember like a couple of overworld glitch seeds that we did, but like, other than that, I think you also can't really prepare too much for this, I think. Just like starting route, and then you have to like go by what you find anyway. And like make decisions on the fly. That's like my opinion on that.
I think a really good advantage that we have is good communication and knowing what we can handle. We have a good idea of how long things take. All those little things add up, and I think we're a good team in that regard.
Yeah, those are all very important qualities. Speaking of important qualities, that was a terrible transition. Kyong just finished off again, and really nice final phase there with the silvers and the double torchlight. So get your GGs out there for the first finisher, Komodo Hypers. Kyong's going to be finishing with an official time of 1:30:30.
Yeah, GG's.
Yeah, definitely. He's gonna raise that Triforce high. And poor Chex, he's finishing up. Ended up getting not ending up having the lantern. Had to do kind of a lot of dark room stuff. Ended up having to go into Ice Palace without Canis Mario, which in the world of Icebreaker is always a feels bad man, but he did it like a champ.
I mean, it is the more fun way to do Ice Palace. It's just a shame that it takes so long.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting screens in Ice Palace area. I agree with you totally. All right, we'll see how we'll get to see how Chex's Ganon fight goes here. Did not pick up. Oh no, wait, yeah, he does have silver. Wait, does he? The tracker has silvers, but I'm not seeing it on his inventory there.
I'm not sure.
We're about to find out here.
Did you just walk through the fire bats?
Yeah.
What a gamer.
What a baller. Stop balling from Chex. All right, now he switched the arrows back on. There we go. Yeah, I'm always impressed when I see that. All right, Ganon's knocking the floor around. It must be a nightmare to be the interior decorator for Ganon. I would assume that Chex is just taunting Ganon there with those sword swipes, just letting him know who's boss. Real smart reaction by Chex there to not be holding the D-pad at all, so he doesn't get fire batted off the stage. So good work there from Chex.
And that's a trick that you learn after falling down a couple of times.
Yep.
You get knocked into the reverse direction of what you're holding, and your natural inclination is to hold towards the middle of the area. And, well, that's a mistake.
It is. Not one that Chex made, though. So Chex finishing up with official time of 1:33:04. So I'm already seeing chat. You beat me to it. I'm seeing the GGs in there. So I think we'll be joined by those two very soon. All right, we are joined by Kyong and Chexhuman. GG's, guys.
Yeah, GG's.
GG.
GG's.
Oh, GG's.
So that Canis Samaria was some trouble.
Exactly.
That was really kind of, I think, the story of the seed for you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. I kind of forgot that Chex didn't have the book, and I pretty much didn't touch Death Mount at all until like very, very late when I just went there to get Fire Rod and leave. So, in the end we kind of orphaned that item location for a good while, getting to the point where, well, there's like Spike Cave, Pedestal, Ether Tablet left. I guess with less location Ether Tablets, because if it's there, Checks will need to go there to grab the book and all that stuff as well. So
It happens. Sometimes you get randoed, unfortunately.
in the end, it was still a mistake on our part. Could have been, obviously, we could have circumvented it and played better around it and stuff, but he did end up punishing us for sure.
Yeah, at some point you just gotta take the L if it's there, and just double down on it. Like, just always playing safe isn't gonna win you races either. So I thought, like, in the end, it's probably the right decision, but it does hurt probably.
Well, and you know, knowing
Exactly.
that you're facing some skilled opponents, you know, you're probably more willing to say, well, it's we've got to make the big plays, right? Like, does knowing who you're playing in a high skill league like this impact you guys' routing very much, or do you just kind of take each seed as it comes?
It kind of depends. This mode, I think, is kind of different by itself because of how. I mean, we do end up clearing basically everything a lot of the time. It just can effectively do everything so efficiently, which makes it hard to not do it, I guess. But
Yeah, that's very true. Like,
Yeah, I mean, Kyong made the suggestion to check Misery Mire when all we had left was a ton of overworld locations. So that I felt pretty good about that. It just turned out Misery Mire was junk.
Well, you guys ended up doing, I think, Chex, you were the one that found the hammer first of anyone on the restream. I think the call you guys made to check out Misery Mire, even though you didn't have the mirror yet, just to kind of get intel on what the medallion was and check the cave, really ended up paying off for you in the mid game.
it's just we're so limited by Meets Dark World access without mirror. We can't really spread things around too much. So that's kind of why we did that.
Yeah, what we did, as I said earlier in the interview as well, so we sent one person into Skullwoods and Thieves, so just like clear Thieves without hammer, and then the other person can just like check Big Chest if it's something as soon as they get hammer, or like sometime later on when they clear it. And the other person just like also goes to Village of Outcasts and just like does overworld stuff. That's what we did. That's why we also ended up finding hammer a little bit late, but that was still okay.
Well, all in all, it was a great seed to watch. You guys put on quite a show. Like, there was all four of you had really great moments that were just cool to watch. So thanks for putting on a good show. I know I loved it. I'm sure Clearmouse and the rest of Twitch chat did too. So any final thoughts from you guys before we wrap it up here?
Nope. I just just the usual, like, really thank you both for commentating this, and thanks Puffy Agent for this whole like league format. I really like it, and also for 2D-Tones and Ricky of Kokiri for the tracking.
Hell
I guess like trackers are always kind of like in the background just, but they do a lot of work and a lot of boring
Especially
work,
with
I
these
guess.
4-player streams.
Yeah, that's also true. So yeah, thank you guys like a ton, and GG's to Kyong and Chex and also Furame.
Thanks all. Thanks for the race.
Yeah, thank you very much for the race, and yeah, I can only copy what Flane said. So thank all of you, and hope to see you all next week again.
Thanks for sticking around while I climbed GT twice.
Where was the last sword, by the way?
Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Pyramid Fairy.
Right.
Yeah, it was an actual vanilla as possible golden sword in there. All right, well, thanks again, guys. That is going to be it for us here on Speed Gaming 2. Thanks for tuning in. And once again, why don't you give all the runners here a follow. They put on a great show for you guys. It was a pleasure to watch. I have been Files, and I was joined by my good friend Clear Mouse. And thanks for watching. Make sure to tune in both here and the League channels for more great League and other content. So thanks again, guys.